YouTube, and welcome to another exciting episode of Slotted In There. We're already at episode 3, and we need to get straight into it because you know the score by now, what's going on with the tech goodness. So here's Sean, Damien, and Tim.
Hello.
Hello.
Good. How are we all this week, gentlemen, before we get into it?
Just peachy.
I'm good. I'm on a week's leave from work, so I'm enjoying life.
Everything hurts and I'm still alive, so...
Well, you're here, and that's what counts, and I'm sure the viewers, and we're very thankful for as well. So I'm off as well with the kids, looking after them because it's Easter holidays, and, you know, they're winding me up a treat, these kids, these young kids. They're just... I mean, I like technology and everything, but they're always using it, aren't they? And it's just for such annoying things like when you want to change the channel, you just press a button, but no, they're talking to a remote and like, take the channel. And you're like, for goodness sakes. They like when you say, what time is it? Instead of looking at the clock of the wall, they'll shout to Alexa, you know, ask what the time is. And it's really annoying. You know, just like, God, it's very lazy, I feel. But it was really funny the other day because my son got told off by Siri because, you know, they're trying these things. He went, don't call me Shirley. I mean, it was his own fault because, you know, he left it in airplane mode.
Yawn.
It's every week.
Let's get on with the show. So it's This Week in Gaming, you know, where we go through the games we played this week. It's quite self-explanatory. But if you didn't know, that's what we're doing anyway. Let's go straight to Damien this week because he felt a bit snubbed last week, didn't he? When I picked someone else. So we'll start with Damien this week. Damien, what have you been playing?
Well, I've gone back to the old 8-bit home computers and I played some Penguin Adventure. Penguin Adventure. It's a classic game developed by Konami in 1986 for the MSX platform. It combines elements of racing, platforming, and role-playing, offering a unique and engaging gameplay experience. You control Penta, a penguin, as he runs through the various levels filled with obstacles like holes, enemies, and even environmental hazards. Timing and precision are key to avoiding pitfalls and progressing on the quest to retrieve a golden apple to save the penguin princess. The game features diverse levels, including forests, caves, and even outer space. Along with boss fights, and purchasable items. So make sure you collect the fish, as that's the in-game currency. The graphics, whilst limited by the hardware of the time, are charming and well crafted, and the game includes multiple endings depending on the player's actions during the game. The music composition is also excellent, and you might even find yourself humming along as you play. I've spent hours in this game and still find its variety and depth to be outstanding for its time. I'd love to see this brought back for modern day devices with a fresh overhaul graphically, but leaving the gameplay as is, so not to take away all of its original charms. What's better than the old retro games, than the old Toshiba MSX, and the ultimate little 2D specialty of Penguin Adventure? Running along, trying to save your girlfriend, and all you've got to do is just get to the end of a course in a limited amount of time. Brilliant.
The MSX kind of passed me by. I think it was sort of mid 80s. I'm thinking mid late 80s. I always remember seeing it with kind of a bit of a hazy look in my eye because I could never really afford one. It was a bit kind of left field for me. I was more mainstream with the like ZX Spectrum and Commodore 64, that kind of thing. But I always had a bit of an admiration for the MSX. I remember going to see one in, I think it was Debenhams back in the day in their computer department, whatever they had back then, and seeing these fantastic games on it, and always wanting one. I haven't actually seen that game, but it looks really good, to be fair.
Really good, very addictive, if I'm honest. But it's typical back in the 80s era. It punishes you for not basically remembering the order or times to jump and get out of the way of things. So after your 3 lives are up, that's the beginning.
Proper game.
Real game.
Yep, gotta love those retro games. They're the best ones. Who'd like to go next?
Tim.
Thanks, mate. This week I have been playing a game that actually is a little bit more spacey. I know that there was a little bit of spaciness in Damien's offering, but mine's full on space, and not only that, but hardcore full on space. Enjoy.
Delta V: The Rings of Saturn came out a couple of years back, 2023, and is more or less the perfect lazy Sunday afternoon game that you can play whilst watching a movie or browsing social media. The game doesn't really hold your hand. It just lets you kind of figure things out for yourself. In the menu you land in, you'll find all sorts of interesting options. The mineral market, for example. You have repairs to repair your ship after a dive into the rings. There's a number of options and services, although I've never really found myself using these very much, or at least not yet. Tuning allows you to boost up some of the functionality of your ship. Equipment. This is where you're going to effectively build your ship. Next we have the dealer. This is where you can buy ships. Some of them can get pretty pricey. Fleet shows you the ships that you already own. Your crew is very much what it says. There's a colossal log of all the things that you've done, and the most important part is launch ring drive. Diving into the ring is as simple as choosing what destination you want. And then once you've made your decision, launch ring drive. This is where the game officially starts. It uses 2-dimensional Newtonian physics to allow you to move around the environment. I tend to keep my autopilot engaged because this will stop me from drifting unnecessarily in directions I'm not expecting. You have various menus once you're on the ship, including the mechanic where you can do some jury rigging. You have your astrogator who can point you to different destinations within the rings. You have your geologist who can adjust the value of the ore that you're collecting. And lastly, there's the pilot. The pilot is sort of your communications officer, really. First thing we need to do is open the beak of our ship, and our microwave generators will start tearing down any floating rocks that are in range. Then the haul drones that I have will just drag any ore directly into the beak of my ship. This is probably the easiest and laziest way to mine. I'm a fair ways into this game, so I've got probably the largest ship that's available. I've added a refinery to it so that I can process the ore as I drift through space. And once I've refined some platinum and some iron, it will also generate nano drone components for me so that I don't run out of drones. It also changes water into fuel for the ship so that I never run out of fuel. However, mining is rarely as simple as you would like it to be. You'll encounter other ships in the rings. Some of them are going to be friendly, some of them less so. This little guy here firing his microwave generators at me is the bane of my existence. He knocks out your computer so you can see I've got no HUD, and now I cannot control my ship. He doesn't ever leave me alone. There's also habitats that you can sell ore to if you don't want to have to go all the way back to Enceladus Prime. You may even find a hollowed out asteroid which has a bar inside so you can treat your crew to some well-deserved libations. So if you're looking for a low-impact, stress-relieving game, why not try out Delta V: The Rings of Saturn?
So Delta V is a bit of an odd one because it's not really a game with a clear objective. It's more of an experience, what it might be like to just be mining the rings of Saturn. And that works very well for, as I said in the video, as a sort of lazy Sunday afternoon game. You can have like a movie on another screen whilst slowly drifting through the asteroid belt and picking apart asteroids as you go. It's quite relaxing, but it can get very tricky and frustrating at points.
I must admit, watching you play it, it's definitely not my cup of tea, that kind of thing. If I'm playing a game, I'm invested in playing the game and my full attention's on it. And I've always been notoriously bad at space games. I don't know why. I just am. I just don't get it. So it looks okay, but if you like that kind of thing, but it's not my cup of tea.
I was going to say the appeal of this game is that it's using sort of fairly realistic Newtonian physics. So if you're interested in space and you're interested in physics, this is a really nice one. But yeah, if you're not interested in that kind of thing, pass it over. It's not for you.
It's variety, though, isn't it? It's variety.
Variety. We cater for all tastes on this channel, or Tim's at least. Sean, do you want to go next, or shall I?
I'll jump in. So this week, as I said in the episode where we did Avowed, I'm kind of pushing myself this year to play some kind of games which I wouldn't normally play. Not space games, though, Tim. That's a step too far. And this week, I've been playing Atomfall by Rebellion. Welcome, fellow time travellers, to a post-nuclear Britain where tea is scarce, cricket bats are weapons, and the countryside is crawling with mysteries.
Time to bleed!
Atomfall, developed by Rebellion, takes the survival genre and gives it a distinctly British twist, setting its eerie adventure in the aftermath of the 1957 Windscale nuclear disaster. Atomfall embraces its Britishness with quirky NPCs, red phone boxes that deliver cryptic messages, and even the ability to devour Cornish pasties.
An old lady in the woods who claims to be wise and benign. You trust too easily.
Warning, the interchange is under quarantine. Please vacate the premises for your own safety.
At first glance, Atomfall might seem like a Fallout London prototype, but it quickly establishes its own identity. Instead of a sprawling wasteland, you're dropped into a quarantine zone in the Lake District, where the nuclear accident has left behind more than just radiation. It's a land of secrets, factions, and paranoia.
If they'd resolve... Oh, I'm sorry, we're closed today. Please leave.
Unlike traditional RPGs, Atomfall doesn't bog you down with stats and skill trees. Instead, it leans into immersive survival mechanics, where scavenging, crafting, and moral choices shape your experience. You're not a super soldier, you're just an ordinary survivor, meaning combat is punishing, and stealth is often the best option. The world is richly detailed, blending rural beauty with unsettling tension, making exploration feel rewarding and unnerving at the same time. Atomfall isn't perfect. Its combat can feel quite clunky, and the lack of clear objectives might frustrate some players. But if you're looking for a fresh take on the survival genre, with deep atmosphere, intriguing mysteries, and a uniquely British setting, this is one you won't want to miss. Right, what can you say about Atomfall? It's kind of a bit like Avowed. It's like a mini RPG. It's set in the northwest of England, kind of in the late 50s, where a supposed nuclear episode has happened at the Windscale nuclear reactor, and it's affected the surrounding area. And you kind of wake up. You don't know who you are, where you are, what you're doing, and it's your job to find out all of those things and more. As you saw in the footage, the rendition of the northwest of England, sort of like around that Lake District area and that kind of place, is beautifully recreated. It's absolutely stunning. And for an RPG, it's keeping me entertained. The story's really good. I'm quite invested in it. I want to see the progression of where this is going to end. So from that perspective, absolutely recommend it.
I haven't actually played it yet. It's on one of my to-do lists. I'd like to have a go because just reading about, like say, the level of detail you say about how we've done the north of England, isn't it? Some of the things, it's apparently really good detail. So I'd like to have a little play at that. It's people say it's not like a Fallout, but is it sort of a British? It's nothing like it, you know.
It's kind of Fallout in an ultra condensed form, so which is perfect for me because you know, when I look at like the games like The Witcher and things like that, they just fill me with dread because it's just so much to do, so much to explore, so much to side quests, and like Damien said, you know, running around collecting things for random people. There's a bit of that, obviously, because you know that's that type of game it is. But it's not just about all that. It's about progressing through the story, which is good. And there's quite a few Easter eggs. There was one in there in the footage of Mr. Bean on his car, with a skeletal Mr. Bean on his car. There's a few others like Doctor Who and various things which keep popping up. So that's quite fun to find as well.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Sounds really good. Brilliant. And my game this week, then. Well, I've not been playing a retro game, Sky. It's a pretty modern game. It's about 3 or 4 years old. This one, but yeah, and it just gave me worms, really. Tapeworm. It's a great little indie game from the developers who made Flea and Flea 2 afterwards. But you're basically a tapeworm. You come out of a tape. You've got so many moves to move across. You can get more blocks to move by picking up little power-ups as you go along, and that's how you complete the puzzle. And it's got little aspects about which side of the tape you come out to try and reach your goal. Gets increasingly difficult. You sometimes have to move objects to help sort of some of the layers characters get through the level and everything. And also there's a bit of time limit to it because when you get onto a level, certain floors can only be jumped on for so long, so those characters might be doing that, so you've got to move pretty quickly to protect that character or put something in the way so that character doesn't fall on some spikes, say as an example. And that can be quite challenging, so you'll be repeating some of the levels over and over again, but it's still a really enjoyable game. It's got a little plot to it that you're a tapeworm. You go to a concert, you're having fun with all your buddies and everything, and then they suddenly get possessed by some sounds or something going on. So then you do your levels to defeat some of the baddies, and as you progress through levels, you progress through the story. It gets increasingly hard as you go along, as you'd expect and everything. Some of them are quite good. I didn't like the time limit ones. I'm pretty rubbish at them, but one of them was like you literally started moving straight away and you just kept moving for the level, and there was loads of spikes everywhere, so you have to get around and avoid the spikes. So that's quite challenging. But overall, it's a really enjoyable and rewarding little indie game that you don't have to spend too long with, and you can drop in and out of quite easily. You can get it on an Evercade cartridge. It's on the Indie Games 2, I believe, on that one, but I played it on Antstream if you want to have a quick play on there, if you've got that PC on your Xbox. Yeah, and it's definitely worth a little play for you. So it made me very hungry, that game. I was hungry for more. It was such a classic little style of retro game, but it's actually a modern one. So I'm okay. I'm winning there instead of just playing all retro games. Yeah, and I think you'd all really like it. It's a very little addictive puzzle game. Like I say, it's a very pick up and play one. And like I say, it was on the Evercade cartridges, if you like collecting for your Evercade. And I think it was actually originally released as a NES cartridge. I might be wrong. People can shout at me in the comments if I'm right, but it's only from about 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah, what do you think, guys?
I couldn't shake the feeling the whole time I was watching you play that I was looking at somebody's intestines.
Exactly what I thought.
Well, very colourful intestines, aren't they? So, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that person has definitely starved themselves for a few days. Be a bit more grim otherwise.
I mean, of all the things you would have thought that game characters could be made out of, a tapeworm does not immediately spring to mind. So kudos to the developer, because it looked quite fun.
Really good. I think if you like retro games, like we keep pushing on here, it's definitely one you want to pick up. And it's that time of show again where we do What the Tech, where we show you some brilliant tech from the past, present, or future, but basically tech you really, really want. So, guys, let's get straight into it. What do you make of that, gentlemen?
Feel like on a Fiesta.
Give you that. Does look like that, yeah.
Almost looks like a sort of ribbon cable port on sort of down the middle, but
I was thinking like maybe like like a nose hair trimmer or a beard trimmer
with like a big flashing warning light on it.
Yeah.
This is the battery's low.
Why wouldn't you want one of them?
I mean, it sounds a great bit of tech already, but shall we see what your options are? Okay. So, is it
Tell me, Chris.
A portable power bank that is worn and can combine with others that family members wear to provide emergency power in a hurricane or earthquake? Is it B, a watch that will shock the user if they do a bad habit? Or is it C, a pet collar that when triggered will make a pet go to the toilet?
I'm good to go with B.
B?
Yeah.
Any particular reason?
That would be so humorous to buy someone for a present, let them wear it, and yeah. There's humor behind that one.
Right. Not because it's a good thing. It's just so you could inflict
and
pain.
It's a good thing, obviously.
Fair enough. What were you thinking, Tim?
I'm thinking A. I mean, A sounds like a practical, reasonable, sensible thing that you could do. It would also explain the light on it. Like, if you're caught in an earthquake or something, you're hoping that somebody's going to find you, having a bright flashing light or something on you, probably not a bad idea. And some sort of power as well. Maybe you can charge up a cell phone if you're lucky enough to get a signal out. Could be a great life-saving device.
So you can slot it in there.
Yes.
Yeah. While you wait for
your
life. Distract you from the broken and crushed limbs.
All very good tech then, isn't it? And Sean, what do you think then?
I'm going to side with Damien on this one. I think it's a watch that will shock the user if they do a bad habit.
Fair enough then. So Tim's going for A, Damien and Sean are going for B. You're all going to look really silly when I tell you it's C, because that's great. But the answer is, it is B. It's a watch that will shock the user if they do a bad habit. And there's many different variations of this one. It's called Pavlok. It's up to the 3rd generation. The second one's the most popular one because it gives the most kick and shock. And people like to use this. You set it yourself for if you have a bad habit. So if you bite your nails, it will sense that you're lifting your hand up and it will give you a shock. You can set the intensity if you only want a little shock. But most people, if you watch it on YouTube, will put it on 100 and it's quite hilarious to watch. So I recommend going and doing that. But Damien, you will be pleased to know there is an app, obviously you can set, but your friends can have as well. And if they feel if you're breaking the habit, they can send a little shock to your wrist. So I think it's the ideal thing for you, Damien, for you to get a friend. Clearly, you're thinking of someone.
Sean, I've got you a present.
Right, I'm asking for a friend here, Chris. So in order for it to learn what the bad habit is, you need to perform said bad habit while the watch is recording you, kind of.
Well, basically, it can do bad habits. So the idea is you shock yourself if you're being naughty, if you want to. It can also wake you up in the morning. People use it as an alarm clock because a nice shock wakes you up very rapidly. But yeah, simple things. If you're lifting your hand up, it must have some sensor in it, obviously, to see that you're going to bite your nails and things like that. But like I say, it's for you to shock yourself if you do something bad, or to wake you up in the morning. Or you can ask your friends, if you see me do that bad thing, can you give me a shot?
Oh, okay. So it doesn't realize what you're doing.
I think it's limited in certain aspects, isn't it? Certain things. I think basically, if it's anything like that, when you're lifting your hand up, like you're trying to smoke potentially or bite your nails, it'll go way up.
Or have a drink.
Have a drink.
Or you're just checking the time.
Checking the time. It'll shock you. Shockingly good. But there you go.
Oh yeah, here we go. Shock Clock 3, 3rd generation, £160. Scores 3.9 out of 5.
vaults.
Well, we'll all look forward to next week when everyone has nice new watches, hey? So,
Oh, I'll
but there you
stick
go.
with my smartwatch.
That was What the Tech this week. Hey, woo, yay.
Okay, we're at that point in the episode for our discussion, and this week we are going to be reacting to a comment from one of you viewers. Fussy Fossila 8857 asked the question, what should I buy my retro gaming brother? Over to you guys. Who's going to start with this one then?
Well, I think we could do with a bit more information, really, because you'd need to know their sort of age, I feel, to pick which retro sort of item you'd probably want.
Yeah, kind of need a little bit more background on it. Like, are they just a particular retro gamer of one particular type of retro device? Are they a Sega or a Nintendo fan kind of thing?
Well, you can kind of hit all bases here, can't you? You just go emulation. So what you could get is something like, I mean, if you're looking at fairly basic emulation from games way back when, we could be looking at something like just getting a Raspberry Pi. A Raspberry Pi, a controller, you could emulate an awful lot with that.
Yeah, I think they're probably going to be more of a collector of something. So it could be a case of spending a filthy amount of cash on buying a retro game. Or, going on Tim's kind of thing, purchasing an Evercade device.
The Evercade was where I was exactly going to go there, Damien, as well. So, yeah, I feel for a collector, that's why sort of Evercade sort of exists at the moment, because we like to get physical things. And you get those retro games all bundled in on a cart. So you get your retro fix there. And like I say, you get the little physical things. You can look for a booklet and everything. It's great. That's why I have an Evercade and have quite a few of them games on the shelf. So that's a good place to start, seeing as though we don't really know how old they are to really specify knockdown on a good console potentially to get or something.
I'm going to go a bit left field with this one. So that they ask, what should they buy their retro gaming brother? So the assumption we're going to make is that they're already into retro gaming. They're already either collecting or playing retro games or part of a retro gaming scene or something. They're already participating. So I'm going to say maybe just something along the lines of, if you, like the guys have said, find out what particular type of retro gaming they're into. Is it retro consoles? Is it retro PC games? Is it older generation computers, like back from the 70s, 80s, 90s? Like there's, the ZX Spectrums, the Commodore 64s, the Commodore Amigas. Find out what their niche is and maybe get just something like some retro clothing, like TVs, like T-shirts with like a game logo on or a computer logo on or something. It's an easy buy. It's quick. It's a quick, easy, nice, easy birthday present, and it's fairly generic. They might be very particular about a particular game set they want or something like that, which can be quite expensive. But retro gaming T-shirt, boom, you're done.
With your accidental slip there, you might also be onto something else. When you said TV, if they can get hold of like a CRT screen, that's great for retro gaming.
True that.
Just a thought, because a lot of your old consoles aren't going to plug into an HDMI port, which most modern screens have, and especially if you want to be able to do something like light gun stuff with an old console or something, then a CRT screen. Just a thought.
Good shout.
No, I suppose all we can really suggest after that, like say some retro clothing or something like that, CRT is a good one. But yeah, if you're after a console, some good consoles, retro consoles to go for is probably a PlayStation 1, potentially, or a PS2, obviously, because it plays PS1 games as well. But it's quite fairly cheap if you're just going to get into collecting with that one. Some games that on disc at the moment. And again, probably, I don't know, Sega Mega Drive and SNES is where I'm at, the sort of 90s things, isn't it? But they're quite expensive to get for now. The thing I would say, if they're serious into collecting, if they're retro and into collecting, make sure you get it boxed with the manual. it's things like that to check. Some people don't mind, but when I'm getting them, like for the Mega Drive now, I buy them all boxed and want the nice little booklet and everything. So there's a bit of a minefield in a retro gaming, collecting thing if that's what they're into. So you need to be aware of that. That's the key bit of advice I'd throw out there.
Or alternatively, just give them the cash to get what they want.
That works. I enjoy that sometimes.
I was going to say, if you don't want to get cash, the other thing is, of course, you could try and get a gift card for your local game shop, whatever that may be. I mean, in this country, we get a lot of, I'm going to call it CEX. I refuse to call it sex. They think they're being clever. They're not. And, in America, what have they got? GameStop, that kind of stuff. So it depends a little bit where you're from, but a lot of these places will do a gift card of some sort. So that's always an idea.
I think the general consensus then of the group is either get very specific with what your brother's into and find out a lot more about what it is about the retro gaming scene that they're into, and find as much as you can about that and what they've got, what they don't have, and go down that path, or go more generic and it's either cash, clothing, vouchers, that kind of thing. But if you're going to go specific, you need to get it right.
It's your letters, it's your letters, it's your letters, it's your letters.
Now it's that time in the show where we get to hear a viewer's letter. And of course, that's going to be read out by somebody very special, but we've got to introduce him first. Damien.
Some say when he walks in a room, he doesn't turn lights on, he turns the dark off. Others say he uses pepper spray to season his food. All we know is he's the Gamesmeister.
Ah, boys. Good to see you all in fine fettle this week. Once again, the sands of time have passed through the hourglass we know as life, and we find ourselves on the cusp of solving yet another dilemma for a viewer. And without further ado, on to this week's letter from a young girl named Cynthia. She writes, Dear Slot It In There, I need your wisdom and fast. My parents seem convinced that they're doing me a favour, but I'm pretty sure they're sabotaging my future. I've just turned 11 and should be excited to start secondary school in September. Instead, my parents are trying to whisk me off to a boarding school, insisting it'll be a magical adventure that most kids don't get offered. Magical adventure sounds suspiciously like code for expensive and overly posh. I just want to go to the local comprehensive with my friends, but they keep rambling on about some special OWLS program at this fancy school. I fail to see how studying nocturnal birds is going to help my job prospects. Sure, I like animals, and becoming a vet is on my radar, but I'd prefer to focus on cows, pigs and sheep, not spend years specialising in owls. They claim I'll get to discover fantastic beasts and where to find them if I go, but honestly, I think I'd settle for knowing my way around a standard farmyard. So, here's my dilemma. Do I give in and let my parents send me off to this Hogwarts wannabe? Or do I stand my ground and demand to study my GCSEs at the secondary school up the road? Help me slot it in there. You're my only hope. Your friend, Cynthia. So, an important dilemma for poor young Cynthia. I'm sure you'll all agree. The future of her very life hangs in the balance. Which way should she choose? Only one of you boys can decide for her. Chris, I watched last week with great interest in your challenge. It was very well done, I must admit. I like this new sassy Chris with a bit of spit and venom. It suits you. You clearly showed Damien how the job was to be done, and thoroughly rubbed his nose in it. Bravo, sir, bravo. However, I feel it may be time to give you a bit of your own medicine. Do you remember this?
What's going to happen now? Oh, nice. He's nearly there.
Oh, music. Oh.
No!
No!
Then there has to be a beep there as well.
Oh yes, you failed miserably at that particular challenge, didn't you? However, a new player enters the arena. Enter Sir Sean. Pick up your sword and shield and enter the battle. You, Sean, shall be playing this week's challenge, and the challenge is Dig Dug. And the challenge rules on level 1. Dig through all of the removable dirt using only the 3 lives you start with. Defeating all of the beasts on screen forfeits the attempt. Get digging.
So, Cynthia wants to know, is she going to go off to a private school in order to study owls, I assume? And the alternative, of course, is that she follows her heart and goes to a public school where she will be studying to be a vet.
It's quite the conundrum.
I was going to say, because one's studying animals and the other one's studying animals. It feels like a bit of an odd one.
Well, I get the feeling that Cynthia just wants to go to school with mates. She's feeling someone's too posh, isn't it? Her parents are obviously trying to push her there, thinking, but it's her choice. It's her education, isn't it? So if she just wants to go up the road to local secretary, I think that's where she should go.
As the Games Meister said, this is my challenge this week, so I'm the one who gets to decide. So I think she should follow her parents' advice and go to this magical school with owls and whatever that is, and progress from there. Let's see how we got on. Okay, Dig Dug challenge. Remove all the dirt. Here we go. And we're off. Ah! No. Oh.
So, Sean, that was rubbish. Why don't you tell us about how badly you sucked?
Yeah, it was so. I mean, I've said this before. I think he's got it in for me, this Gamesmeister, because he knows I'm not a console player. He knows I'm not really a retro gamer. I'm more kind of like modern day PCs. So this was just, it was an impossible challenge, but I tried. One thing I did pick up, because I did watch Chris's attempt, and Chris did very well, but he was just running around the level. He wasn't actually using the pump gun, or I didn't see him using the pump gun to delay the monsters. So I did use that, and I did pause them quite a few times. So I thought I was going to do quite well, but soon as you start clearing those big areas, they've got a straight line to you, and then when it speeds up, you're just like, oh my god. Yeah, I failed.
Oh,
Loser.
But doesn't in your failure actually pick the correct answer, because you were going to send them off to this posh school, so you failed. So now they're going to secondary school, which I thought was the right answer anyway. So
agreed.
We made a decision.
Made a decision either way, and that's the main takeaway here. And that game sucks. Let's never play it again.
I enjoyed it, to be fair.
Just because you two can't play it properly.
Did you hear that, Chris?
Sound like Sonic, didn't it?
Yeah, play the better game.
And there we are. We're at the end of the show once again. I hope you enjoyed it and you got lots of tech and useful advice, and obviously enjoyed some of our gaming clips, because that's what the show's all about. Guys, what do people need to do?
You need to leave a like and a subscribe down below if you enjoyed our content, especially because it really helps us out and it doesn't cost you anything.
Also, if you want to interact with us, like Fussy Fossil did, leave a comment down below and let us know your thoughts.
And tickle the bell so you're notified of any further future uploads of ours. Nice.
Absolutely brilliant. And of course, we'd like to end with a quote. Might be inspiring or just something to think about and mull about, but it's a way to end the show in a nice way. And this week I picked tonight's quote from one of my favourite authors, Terry Pratchett. And the quote is, "Give a man fire and he's warm for a day, but set fire to him and he's warm for the rest of his life."
True that.
True, man. True. And on that blue screen of death, it's time to end the show. So we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.